take all of you. That's right. I'm going to take all of you on a journey. I'm going to take all of you on a journey back in time. "46 years back in time. To the year 1971. To Sydney, Australia. I was a 14-year-old student at Dover Heights Boys High School in Sydney. One day, as I was swimming in the Pacific Ocean at Bronte Beach in Sydney, a strong current started drifting me towards some rocks at the bottom of a cliff. I panicked and started yelling, "Help! Help!" A surfer nearby came next to me and tried to pull me out of the current with a surfboard. But he couldn't, because the current was too strong. He abandoned me there. It took the current only a few minutes to take me to the rocks at the bottom of the cliff. At the rocks, a surprise was waiting for me. Big waves started banging me and pulling me back. 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 To and from a rock. I was terrified and started screaming, but there was nobody around to help me. That surfer, who had abandoned me just a few minutes ago, was far out in the sea, standing on his surfboard, and he was yelling, "Are you all right, man?" I said, "What? You gotta be kidding me! I was being smacked against the rock! How could I be all right?" I had to find a way to get out of the Pacific Ocean very quickly, because if I didn't, and if I started bleeding from the impact to the rock, any sharks, even a kilometer away, could smell the blood and come and eat me alive. The only way to get out of the Pacific Ocean was to climb the rock against which the waves were banging me. But the rock looked impossible to climb. It was steep, 70 degrees like this, wet, slippery, and almost nothing to hold on to climb it. The rock was only 1.5 meters high, but even 1.5 meters is too high when you're in the water. I decided that I was not going to die in the Pacific Ocean that day. I was going to climb that rock, and failure was not an option. So I did. I climbed it. I stood on the rock. And then I climbed to higher ground on the cliff where the waves could not reach. I looked at the Pacific Ocean and I said, "You, Pacific Ocean, I'm talking to you. You lost. I won. You could not swallow me." And damn that surfer who did not help me. Then I looked down at the waves that were still hitting the rock. And I said to the waves, "Come up here and get me if you can, waves." I wonder, how was I able to climb that rock? Well, of course, I had a good enough reason to climb it. And that reason was the will to stay alive. That's how I was able to climb that rock, an impossible rock. Dear friends, we often have big problems in our lives. Sometimes those problems can be so complicated, they may require professional help to solve them. We often think that our problems are impossible to solve. But the Adidas slogan says, "Impossible is nothing." Let's rephrase that. Impossible is nothing if we have a good enough reason to do the impossible. 46 years ago, as just a 14-year-old kid, trying to stay alive in the Pacific Ocean in Sydney, I discovered a strength in me, the strength to do the impossible when necessary, and a good enough reason to use that strength. Ladies and gentlemen, you, all of you, everybody in this room, also have the strength in you to rise up to the challenges that may be facing you, no matter how difficult those challenges may be. The question is, do you have a good enough reason and the courage to want to use the strength in you and face your challenges? In 1922, the Turkish people won the War of Independence with such courage and reason. A war that everybody said was impossible to win. What about you? What about you? Do you ever think that a problem you have is so difficult that it's impossible to solve? If not, I'm happy for you. But if you do, realize that you also have the strength in you to do what you normally think is impossible to do. You just have to find your good enough reason to want to use the strength in you and face your challenges. So do it. What are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? Find your reason. Use the strength in you and rise up to your challenges. Get professional help if necessary. You can do it. Thank you.